Hello, and thank you very much indeed, Belgin, for organising and pulling us all together in this Festival of Social Sciences, but also in keeping everybody on track. So it's lovely to see so many of the faces that were a part of our June event coming back now. So let me just start this by giving you a story. So I've come back to Glasgow. I was a child born in the city, born in the hospital in the city, and the school that I went to was an inner city school where less than 10% of the pupils from that primary school ever entered tertiary education, let alone professional occupations. Part of the reason I was at that school was because my father in particular had a very strong motivation for not dislocating more privileged people from working class. So he deliberately threw us into a school that was actually quite a difficult school if you were from a very different background to the children that were there. From that experience, it really helped me to see how much work or the lack of routes to work played a role in people's lives, because work wasn't a feature at one level, but also because it was Glasgow, there was very much a sectarian view of work. So particular avenues to work would be open to one group because of their religious affiliations, but not open to another group because they were from the wrong religious affiliation. Then when I went into secondary school, I deliberately have never been back to any of my school reunions. And the reason that I haven't been back is because it would make me incredibly sad to see all of the talent that was available in those secondary schools that never made it. And I would find really, really depressing to see, because I know some of those people never achieved the potential that I saw. And then if I go on to looking at my university career, when I finished university, I came out into a major recession, and we would paper the walls of our hallway with all the rejection letters that we received. Partly to make it into a bit of a fun thing, but actually it was to try and help us feel that it wasn't necessarily useless, this rejection we were getting, we could recycle it in these ways. But I think I just want to use that as an illustration to say what's coming out from this and the conversations that we've been having, and also listening to the other speakers. I think we've got some really important factors that we as work psychologists can add to this. And in particular, that's recognition that how work is in people's lives and the identity that it gives them starts much, much earlier than we really need to be aware of. So it starts in primary schools, and we need to be working in primary schools and helping to construct ways of seeing work and ways of seeing that identity within that context. Also, there are issues about confidence. You know, many of the young people within particularly more impoverished context are very restrained and constrained in terms of their confidence. They don't like to step outside, partly because they're not confident about the outcomes, but maybe more perniciously because of poverty. They don't have the resources if something goes wrong to be able to pick them up and put them on the right track. So actually, it's a kind of learned behavior of keeping themselves safe in the world. And so for many young people, they never step outside of their comfort zone. They never achieve their potential, not because they don't have that potential, but because there's no security and safety net to allow them to maybe make some of the mistakes that other people get to make and other people benefit from. So what I'm suggesting here is that there are huge inroads that we can make as work psychologists in terms of having those bridges between education, between employment, in terms of, but also understanding the risk factors. We know that if young people don't go into work, then their connections to society are broken. They don't trust society anymore because they don't see that society has any value for them. They're also much more likely to enter into more criminal and less attractive modes of behaviour that both threaten them but also undermine our societies. So I think, again, as work psychologists, we're in a unique position to be able to understand and to join the dots, particularly around influencing policymakers, to show what are the pull factors that can help propel young people from very early on in their lives into seeing work and the value and opportunities from work, but also what are the push factors and what are the consequences of those push factors for our society. So we've been very fortunate in terms of having this space to come together. What I also want to say to you is I can see Joe Sylvester's in this space as well. In my new role as the Impact Incubator Director for EWOP, we want to work with our small group meetings as a way of creating these conversations, as a way not only of allowing us to engage, but also to inform and influence people about work psychology. So I want to say to all of you on this call, this is the beginning of a journey. This is not the end of a journey in this meeting. And I hope you're going to join us in helping to deliver so much more to our world through our science and through our understanding.